Hey, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert, and as promised, we've got hold of the new Satson channel and Satson bus plugins, and from a relatively small company that already give away one plugin for free. Unfortunately, it's not an RTAS plugin, but this is the Sonimus Satson, and they've sent us a copy to take a look at, and it comes in two parts. The good news is it's $39, so it's almost, even if you made a mistake buying it, then $39 is nothing really. And I love these companies that as we called them on our podcast the other day, the kind of little guys that aren't there to try and make a fast buck, but they're just trying to make the world a little better. So it's good to read the story actually of how this came about in the first place, and some of these plugins anyway. If you go on their site, it's a nice little site over at Sonimus. So I've got this, and it comes in two parts. It comes in a channel, and the channel gives us a number of features, and you have a gain control. But the way to imagine this is you put it across, if you see, I've put it across all the channels here on my Pro Tools rig, and then I put the bus on the master output channel as well. So I've got it on all the channels and the bus. I haven't put it on the reverb channel, which is running SAR, the reverb. And then first let's look at the bus part, which is a pretty straightforward one, and we'll come into that. And the bus is broken down into not a lot of parts really. You have the fat control, which reduces the dynamic range and gives you sort of more harmonic distortion. Now, when we talk about distortion, if you're not used to these kind of processes, this is the first time you've got your head around one of these or looking at one, is that the distortion is introducing the kind of distortion that was inherent in analog gear. And so this is the bus of a master section really, basically. And the fat reduces the dynamic range and gives you more evidence of distortion. Then you can bypass that basically with this on button as well. So that bypasses saturation, so it still gives you the gain in the VU metering. So you've still got these nice meters here, but the distortion isn't in. So you can turn the fat on and off. And then you've got, if you hit the name, you go into here then, and you have a number of other features as well. You can have disable and enable stereo crosstalk. So you can run it in dual mono or stereo, which is nice. And then you have two crosstalk modes. You have one that's modelled on a vintage board, which is how this used to be before it became an RTAS plugin, but now it's come to the new version. What became new in 1.1 is the crosstalk mode has a vintage and a modern, and the modern is more subtle and smoother, and the vintage is a bit more crunchier. Then you have the VU position. You can have them before or after saturation here, pre or post, before or after saturation. And then the loud increases the distortion of low and high frequencies on or off, so depending on how much coloration you want in the sound. So what these plugins are aiming to do is add colour to the sound, the kind of colour that was introduced with old mixing boards and analog gear. Let's look at a channel now. And the channel looks somewhat different, and you have a gain control. Now the way to imagine this is it's not like a gain control. The trouble with digital audio is if you push the gain too far on digital audio, you'll get digital clipping, which is horrible. What this does is actually different to that. It's a gain that you put on the channel, and if I show you, for example, on this pair of overheads, if you see there, the ballistics at the bottom on this meter aren't changing, because what you're doing, we're basically using it as a saturation knob really. And there's two options actually. You can go in and you can change it. You can turn this thing called output compensation off, and then it becomes it'll actually change and decrease and increase the gain. So you get some clipping there now. But it's not digital clipping again. So if you leave these all on, basically it's working like a saturation knob. Then what you have as well, you have a high pass and a low pass filter and a 12 dB octave high pass slope. You can switch between that, which is quite nice as well, and so it controls the decay slope on that there. Now what's nice straight away, and if I want to give a heads out to these guys in anything, it would have been nice perhaps to put a phase switch on this as well, and that would have been nice to have that. You'd almost get a complete kind of input stage. Then you've got high pass and low pass, which is really nice. And often you're invoking EQs on your plugins just to use them as high pass and low pass, and these they're really smooth and nice. These feel really analog. If I show you them, there's the original. Just turn that up for a second just for this. Turn that back on now. You can hear they're really nice filters. And this is the kind of channel you'd use this on anyway. You're often using high pass and low pass and things like overheads and stuff. Then you've got this fat switch again, as I say, and that gives you the option to reduce the dynamic range and get a much more harmonic distortion in the sound. Then again, the on and off switch like we had before, where you bypass the saturation, and you've got the gain and the VU meters as well again. That's working there. And then on the back panel, as I say, there's a few cool things. One of them, for those of you who are obsessed with the difference in volume issue, you've got that. If you switch that on, it's just working now. It doesn't change the volume, it just changes the saturation and the gain stage. Now this thing called super gain, and what super gain is, it increases the gain range from between minus 24 and plus 24 dB. It's all in the manual there. And then you have again the VU meter position between pre or post saturation again. Now certain DAWs, I think Reaper is one of them, the tracks operate as stereo tracks. So when you're working with mono tracks, you can use this switch here to decide how you want that to work, and it will reduce the CPU load as well. So that's a good point to bring that point in. So at the moment, if I bring up on Pro Tools for a second, the system usage at the moment there, what you want to be looking at on this meter here is the CPU here, and if I just take them all out, it's not much, and even when we play it, it's not really doing much there. So let's see it in action. So I've got it on everything and the saturation button. So first I'll leave it on, and remember I've got all of these in output compensation mode. So when I flick this in, you shouldn't hear any volume difference, which is always for some people an issue when they're evaluating the sound of something. There's the original. That's in now. And back out again. Now for me it really cleans it up. And for example, if we go in for like this kick and this bass guitar, that's off. And that's partly because I'm using use the high pass and the low pass filters. Just cleans that bottom end up, and again on the kick drum. There's the original. I really feel it opens it up, and I'm pushing the gain quite hard on that kick drum. Just put the kit in for a second. There's the original. As I say, it really cleans it up, and we put it back in the whole track. Let's just show you this guitar as well. So I'm rolling some of that bottom end off again. What's nice is, well, it's taking some of the fizz out of that guitar as well, which is and it's just a case of just going through and trying it. So I think comparisons to things that are 10 times the price of this are frankly meaningless, I think. But what I think is important to note on this unit is that if you would like to introduce this kind of plugin into your workflow, and you can't stretch to some of the more expensive ones that are out there. And we've reviewed most of them on this site. Then for $39, it's a steal, it's a knockout, it's a brilliant little product. And you know what? I'm going to give it my Editor's Choice Award. It's the last one of the year on the 31st of December 2012, but for $39, I think this is great. If for nothing else, to have high pass and low pass filters on every channel and some gain saturation, stuff like that. And the SAT bus as well, with some nice metering for your output stage and that. I think it's a real steal, and I think these guys have done a great job of this. And thumbs up from me. So Editor's Choice Award, last one of the year. Well done, guys. Go over to Sonimus and check it out, and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.